The city never truly slept. It only pretended to. At 2:17 a.m., the streets of Greyhaven were quiet enough to hear the buzz of failing streetlights and the distant hum of traffic bleeding in from the highway. Apartment windows glowed like tired eyes, half open, watching nothing. Elias Mercer stood at his kitchen sink, hands submerged in cold water, watching a thin ribbon of red spiral down the drain. He did not rush. Rushing made mistakes. The apartment smelled faintly of bleach and copper. The radio on the counter murmured static between stations, a habit Elias never corrected. Silence invited thoughts. Static drowned them. Behind him, the body lay arranged carefully on the linoleum floor, arms folded over the chest, head tilted slightly to the left. Respectful, intentional. Elias dried his hands, folded the towel neatly, and placed it back on the rack. He checked his watch. 2:19 a.m. He always checked the time. The ritual mattered. He knelt beside the body, a man in his mid-30s, thinning hair, cheap cologne. Elias had met him 2 nights earlier at a bar that pretended to be upscale. The man's name was Robert, or maybe it was. Names stopped mattering after a while. Elias closed Robert's eyes with his fingertips. "I'm sorry," he whispered, because that part was true. Then he stood, grabbed his coat, and left the apartment without another look. By morning, Elias Mercer was someone else entirely. He wore clean clothes, drank his coffee black, and joined the flow of commuters heading downtown. He worked as a records archivist for the city, a forgettable job with locked rooms and long hours alone. People assumed he liked it that way. They were right. At work, Elias processed old police reports, unsolved cases, forgotten statements. He digitized the dead and shelved the lost. His supervisor praised his attention to detail. No one noticed how often his fingers lingered on certain files, especially the ones with his handwriting. Detective Mara Klein hated unsolved cases. They stuck to her ribs like old bruises, never visible, always tender. When she arrived at the scene on Delmer Street, her jaw tightened the moment she crossed the tape. Another man, another apartment, another body arranged like it was waiting to be forgiven. She crouched beside the corpse, noting the precision of the wounds. Clean cuts, minimal struggle. "This is number 6, her partner muttered. Mara didn't respond. She was watching the face. The killer always closed their eyes. That detail bothered her more than the rest. Elias followed the news closely. Not obsessively, that would be dangerous, but enough to stay informed. He read articles during lunch, his expression neutral, nodding occasionally as coworkers speculated. "Guy, gotta be a psycho," one said. Elias smiled politely. At night, when the city dimmed and the static filled his apartment, he allowed himself to remember. It hadn't started with violence. It started with noise. When Elias was 12, his mother began talking to people who weren't there. She whispered to corners, argued with the television, cried into the walls at night. The apartment was always loud, voices overlapping, laughter turning into screaming without warning. Elias learned early that noise meant danger. Silence meant safety. The night his mother died, the neighbors said they heard nothing at all. Killings didn't quiet the world. They quieted him. Each one peeled away a layer of pressure, a hum beneath his skin he couldn't explain. He chose his victims carefully, not innocent, not monstrous. Men who left ripples of pain behind them. Men who raised voices. Men who made the world louder. He told himself it was balance. He told himself many things. Mara stood in the precinct break room at 3 a.m., staring at a board filled with photographs. 6 men, 6 apartments, no forced entry, no witnesses. "He's careful," she said. "Too careful." Her partner nodded. "You think he knows police procedure?" Mara's eyes drifted to a photo of the victim's hands. "They all look peaceful," she said quietly. "That's not rage, that's control." The 7th victim fought back. Elias hadn't expected it. The man, a teacher, recently fired, screamed when Elias revealed the knife. The sound cracked something inside him, sharp and sudden. Neighbors heard the struggle. Police arrived faster than Elias anticipated. He escaped through a fire exit, heart pounding, noise clawing at his skull. For the first time in years, the static couldn't drown it out. Mara caught the pattern shift immediately. "This one panicked," she said, tapping the file. "Something spooked him." She leaned back, eyes unfocused. People don't change rituals unless they're afraid. That night, she dreamed of a man standing in a hallway beneath an overbright light, his back turned, listening. Elias stopped sleeping. The noise came back, memories, guilt, the echo of his mother's voice bleeding through walls. He began hearing whispers again, faint but persistent. "You're making it louder," they said. He pressed his palms over his ears. He needed one more. Just one. The 8th victim was different. A woman. Elias hadn't planned that. He told himself he was adjusting, evolving. She lived alone. She yelled into her phone at midnight, voice sharp, slicing through the walls. When Elias stood over her body, something felt wrong. The silence didn't come. Instead, the room seemed to listen. Myra found the 8th body at dawn. She stood longer than usual, something cold settling in her stomach. "He broke his rule," she said. Her partner frowned. "What rule?" Mara didn't answer. She already knew. Elias returned to his apartment and found the radio off. He never turned it off. The silence pressed in, thick and heavy. Then, softly, he heard breathing. Not his own. From the hallway. The overhead light flickered, too bright, blooming outward, swallowing the shadows. He stepped into the hall. The walls seemed closer than before. And for the first time, Elias heard his mother's voice clearly. "You were supposed to make it quiet," she whispered. Mara stood outside Elias Mercer's apartment an hour later, warrant in hand. The door was unlocked. Inside, the apartment was spotless, too clean. In the kitchen sink, faint red stains curled around the drain. In the hallway, beneath a blinding light, Elias stood perfectly still. Facing the wall. "Elias Mercer," Mara said gently. "Turn around." He didn't. The walls seemed to breathe. "I tried," Elias whispered. "I really did." The light flickered once, then went out. They found him standing there when the power returned. Alive. Unarmed. Unresponsive. In the psych ward weeks later, Elias never spoke again. But every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., nurses reported the same thing. The lights above his room grew too bright. And the walls whispered back,